and see how you did. Okay, so this is based on yesterday's and the day before. So mortgage, equity, rent, and credit cards. Okay, so Calvin has saved up for $45,000 to buy a house. Um, if he does buy it, he will apply the full down payment. So this is going to be applied towards it. The house is listed at $379,000. The mortgage that it's being signed for is 4.65 interest, compounded semi-annually. And this word, I may have not explained this. The amortization is how long are you taking to pay this off? And it's amortizing is kind of like absorbing, okay? How long is it going to take for you to absorb this big debt that you're getting into? Mortgage is one of those debts that people think is like a good debt, right? It's you're not buying something that depreciates. For the most part, it appreciates. So there we go. Maybe I should ask who needs a paper copy of this. Continue. Determine the monthly payment, monthly mortgage payment. So watch for that. It could be bi-weekly, weekly, semi-monthly, so you just have to watch out for that. And I think I made a pretty good, I'm going to give you a review later for investments as well as loans and how they differ and the formulas that go with it. I think it's going to be all in one spot. I think you're going to appreciate that. Compounded semi-annually, right? So this right here means 2 times a year, so compounding is 2. Payments, we are making monthly payments. Future value, when it's a loan, we want it to be 0. We're going to find out the payment. This, you got to watch out. It's $379. Take away the down payment. You're not borrowing the entire amount. Of course, I put my key away. There it is. $334,000 is what should be in present value. This should be positive because the bank is giving you the money to buy that house. Interest should be 4.65, and this should be 25 times whatever is in PY, and that should be 300. If you've done all that right and you solve for the payment, the monthly payment ends up being $1,867.55. Sorry, what happened there? $1,867.55. 76 here or here? This is 76? I'm just going to take your word for it. That's just how I rolled today. 76? Okay. Like that? Okay. So if you got that, see, you would lose half a mark on an exam on something like that, because if we can see that you flipped it and everything else is entered correctly, half a mark off. So just so you know. So 2 marks for this one. If everything is correct, 2 marks. So make sure you circle and you put units on that one in particular. The other ones, they don't really care about, just your final answer. Determine how much Calvin will still owe on his mortgage in 10 years, assuming that he maintains the same mortgage details. Okay, so in this case, how much is still being owed? You use balance, and this would be 10 times whatever is in your PY. So this is really balance of 120. And I have, and let's see if we're going to jive here. This is what I get. Yeah, so I must have copied it wrong, right? Just to confirm that earlier, I probably just copied it wrong. So I'm just going to fix that here as well. 76. There we go. So that's your balance owing. And of course, if you made a mistake up here, this is going to save you, right? The work you show us here is going to save you. You would get full marks, because what I do when I mark them, I rerun based on what you got and then see if it matches. Okay. Using a 1.5 appreciation rate, how much will Calvin's house be worth in 10 years? So the formula varies, right? But the value of the house will be, you use the actual value that you purchased it for, not the down payment. It doesn't have anything to do with this. So it's 379,000 times 1 plus 0.015 to the power of 10. Okay, that'd be 379,000, 1.015 to the power of 10. If you run this all, you could run this all in one shot. That'd be 439,844.97 cents. Let me just bring this up a bit. 439,844. So this is exponential growth, right? Your house starts at 379 and then it goes up, right? So this technically is exactly what a exponential function looks like. And we know it's increasing because this is bigger than 1, right? Then you know it's increasing. So if it's depreciation, this would be less than 1. You'd have something like this happening, right? Actually more like this. Determine the equity. So in this case, equity is simply going value of the house after 10 years minus the balance owing. So you can just draw from the previous two answers. 243,581.58. You get 196,263.39. And of course, if you get different answers up here, then I would just want you to show me the work so you'd still get the mark there. So in this case, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks for this front page. Then we go to the back side. State one advantage other than building equity to purchasing a house as opposed to renting. So a good thing about buying, and you could say the ability, right? The ability to own pets without the landlord's permission, something like that. There you go. That's a doctor's note if you ever saw one, right? You could say you can renovate. You can renovate whenever you want to. So renovate without approval from landlord, right? From landlord, and you just write that out. You can also say that if you buy a house, you may have a yard, which allows you some privacy. You can barbecue outside. You can use charcoal barbecue if you have your own yard. If you have an apartment or condominium, you're not allowed to have charcoal on your condo, right? Like it's a carbon monoxide hazard, because if somebody has their window open above you, they might get it in there, right? So if you have a house, then you can do that. And you could have Googled that. Anybody else have a cool one that you would like to share? Anyone? No? Okay. I will just leave it at that. An advantage of renting. So you can say lower startup costs, right? If it says state, it's short and sweet. If it says explain, you want to go a little bit, like write a sentence or two. Okay, that's basically how it goes. What else did I say? Relocate, right? Easier to relocate. Utilities are usually included. Lower maintenance costs, anything like that will go there, so you get the mark. Please don't leave these empty on the exam, okay? I can probably give you at least half a mark if it has some sort of sense to it, okay? 7, Nina receives her credit card statement showing a balance of this much. So this is how much is being owed, okay? Interest rate, huge, right? Compounded daily, I don't know if you noticed that. $50 payments every month. Calculate how long in months it will take for the balance owing to be paid off. So make sure you show this. PYCY. It is tedious, I know, but they do want you to show that work. Compounded daily, so that's 365. We are making monthly contributions, right? Payments, so this is 12. Future value, hopefully 0 at one point. Payment is 50 and it's leaving you. Present value, you owe 13, 50, 32, but remember, you used the money. They gave you the money, so technically this is, when you look at the bank's perspective or the credit card company, they gave you this, so this is with you. Interest rate is 21.99, and this is what we're going to solve for. That's where time is located, right? It's in N. So let's figure that out. I think I did this already. Yeah, and so when you solve it, it's 37.76. And is this, can I leave it like that in this case? This is technically months. Yeah, so you could say 37.76 months is fine to say. If you went years, right, then yes, you do 3776 divided by whatever PY is, and then you get your years, but in this case it asks for months. And how do I know this is in months? Because I have a 12 in there. If you had a 52 in here, that is weekly, right? Then this number would have represented the number of weeks. So you got to kind of watch out for that. Years, I'm not even sure. That's 3 something, right? 3 point something. 3.15. But it did ask in months, so. And just leave it at that. How much interest will Nina have paid by the time she pays off her credit card balance? You may not use sum of interest. You have to use this one, where you go N times the payments minus the present value. So you go 3776 times 50, and you subtract it from the amount that you borrowed. Okay, so this is going to give you 1888 minus 13,532, and that gives you $537.68. Again, this one up here, 2 marks if everything is correct, and you got that. How much will Nina have paid off? Principal, right? After 1 year. You may use this one here. I showed you principal, the function, but I haven't used it a whole lot. So what I would say is you go to get the principal, you take the present value and you subtract the balance owing at that point. Okay? So my present value is 1350.32 minus what's the balance at that point after a year? It'd be 1 year times PY. So that's 1350.32 minus balance of 12. I thought I had done that earlier. There it is. Balance of 12 after 12 months is this. Okay. So it's 1,017.39. When you subtract that, you get 332.93. That's how much you've actually paid off. Can I also show you this one? I want you to try this one. Principal, with loans you may use principal. So you could have used from the first, sum of principal, from the first to the 12th month. If you do that, you also get 332.93, and I'll show you. Yeah. So you go back to your apps, finance, right there, 1,12. So it's still years times PY, just like sum of interest. And there it is, 332.93 rounded. Okay, so you may use that one, and I will give this in your summary today of how to do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marks for this back side. Maybe I want to just say this before we wrap this up. Some of you might think 12 months, right? 12 months went by and I made payments of $50, correct? So technically in a year, you paid the bank $600, but not all of that went towards paying off what you owe them, right? Some of that went into interest every single month. That's why it's not as straightforward as you would like it to be. You have to figure out, how much do I owe them after a year? How much should I start with? When you subtract it, then you find out how much you've actually paid off of that loan. So watch this, you gave them 600, you basically only paid off about half of this money went towards paying off your loan. Because a credit card has a giant, like an insane interest rate, 22%. It's if you ever, anybody have a credit card already? Did you ever notice in your statement how long it will take you to pay it off if you only make the minimum payment? Sometimes it's like 37 years, or like you owe them like a couple $100, and like if you stick to the minimum payment, which is $10 a month or 2% of your balance, every credit card is a little different. It says like it will take you like 50 years to pay it off, or 60 years, because it's so, the interest rate is so big that the $10 a month is just not keeping up with how much is growing by. Okay, so this is basically for you to see how does everything happen in the background. Okay, I'll stop here.